Hello viewer and welcome to round 6 of the PNTCC. We are off to Czech Republic to Autodrom the Most, or Autodrom Most for you race room experience folks out there. A fantastic circuit, very quick, very twisty and windy as you're about to see right now. It consists of 19 corners with the main overtaking opportunity at T1. T2 seems a little bit buggy with the off-track limits, so some people might get slowdowns. But the turn 14, 15, 16 is probably the most exciting part. But without further ado, let's head over to race 1. Bo Dixon on front with Clough in second, with Danny 200, who is his home race, is in third spot. Myself in the Civic in fourth, as we'll just keep an eye on myself right now. As we head down to T1, we can see Connor looking down the inside. It just gets much better braking than I did. I was a little bit conservative. And Connor gets a much better exit as well out of T2. I seem to bog down, or Anders seems to bog down, or myself, and he seems to bog down. And Connor has the racing line, and I completely get a tank slapper and just basically drift it around that corner, which felt sketchy as anything at the time. Luckily managed to close off Danny from getting down my inside as well. As Clough has got a brilliant start from second to first. So we've gone on board with Danny 200 and we can see the rear end of the Civic. And it was a very lively car in this race for me, personally. As you'll see here. There we go. Just stepping out a little bit. And Danny's looking down the inside here of the S section. And I completely lock up the rears. Going straight on, giving Danny an easy fourth spot with his next target, Connor, just up the road, a couple of seconds up the road. So Autodrom Most is a fantastic circuit. If you haven't driven it before in race room, I strenuously say give it a go. It is a really fun circuit. It's a bit tricky here in places, but if you have the right car, like an F4 or these WTCCs or even DTMs, or even the GT3s, to be fair, you are going to have a good time. As we're with Ernie in the sky, looking around Most Autodrom, as it said on that sign just then. As we go down to T1, Bo Dixon looking quite heavily into Clough. Nice cutting of T1. T2, I feel like if you touch the green inner patch, it's not grass, it's like the sort of felt that you sometimes can get, or I think it's felt, or paint on the inside of the circuit, you are given a time penalty, which is very annoying. But they are heading through a nice little complex there. Quite tricky. You need to like straight line in the braking zone. You need to kind of, I believe it's 3 and 4. 3 and 4. You kind of straight line it and you kind of turn into 4 quite late. And there's like almost like a long right-hander. But we're heading down now to. I'm not quite sure which corner it is, but I called it knockoff during the race, purely because it's very similar to the hairpin at Donington. Very similar, but without such a gradient hill going into it, so it's a little bit easier. As we're going through the S, it's my favourite part of the circuit. It's so nice. It looks fairly simple, but it's actually quite technical. And when we go on board with someone later on in the video, I'll kind of talk you through why that is, but it's a lot easier to do it on an onboard rather than action or TV cam. Now we haven't really swapped cars very much because all the action happens around Bo Dixon in race 1 and in race 2 in all fairness, but just for a little bit of a change up, here we go. So we're on board with Michael Clough, who sadly is his last race with us in the PNTCC. It's not because he hates it, or that's not at least what he told us anyway, but he's already signed up to another league prior to joining this one and didn't realise they were going to clash, which is an absolute shame because I think Michael Clough would have been a proper good contender for the championship title. So as we go and look at Connor, who was doing fantastically this time around. That McGann seems to be fairly settled in all fairness. He's driving the absolute socks off of it because Danny 200 is by no means, as we saw in round 5, a slow driver. So it's Connor followed by Danny, followed by myself, followed by Colson, who was quite far back. I'm not quite sure if he got a slowdown or a bit of a off track. Not entirely sure. But the McGann looks pretty good, to be fair. does look quite nice just in its all black skin, and that's because they couldn't get the rights for the actual car skin itself, I believe. Also I've read somewhere. As we go to a few, there we go. So we've got, that's a really nice view of the S's, to be fair, and you can see into the distance, and the rolling forest that surrounds it. There's Mark Olsen right there. Coming round towards turn 18 and 19 now. Nice corners, quick, tricky, and there's a, you don't really realise there's a gradient. This camera angle made me realise that there is a bit of a gradient on a T18, which I wasn't really aware of. I thought it was relatively flat. I didn't realise there was that much of a gradient. So we go around turn 19, down the main straight, and into the tight chicane that is T1 and 2. Not as bad as Monza chicane, which is quite interesting. Yeah, not so many Punterinos, or maybe it's because it's a little bit longer. There's like a nice little straight. Oh, seem to have a bit of a freeze frame there. Sorry about that. As Danny 200 is going down the inside of Connor as they go into the braking zone, and the Megane completely locks up. Now I'm the Civic behind, as you can see, and when I was in the race, all you could see was smoke. So I don't know whether something happened with the car setup or something happened with Connor's pedals, because the car just went straight into lockup mode. It didn't even like slow down a little bit before locking up. It just went bang straight into lockup mode, and that knocked him out of the race. And to be fair, with 4 minutes left to go, I can understand why he retired, because to get out of that and to get any result when there's only 6 of you racing, it's a little bit of a kind of no-go. So there are a lot of slots open. Please, 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 we will. I'm heavily looking for more people to contend in this sort of season style. So if you are interested, and regardless of your skill, it doesn't matter if you're brand new to race room or an absolute veteran, you will find a battle within this league. I can guarantee it. As we go on board of Michael Clough for a full lap, I believe we're going to be on him for a full lap. So if we go over the timing line, heading down to T1 and 2, and you want to kind of keep to the right hand side after T1, so heavy on the brakes on a 100 meter board, and you want to keep to the right hand side to really open up that left, not cutting it too much, otherwise you will get a slowdown. You can ride the curb on exit, get a very good acceleration. I can remember driving this Alpha in season 1, which I didn't do any videos for. As you can see, straight line brake into T4, T5, and round into T6 with the little kind of fake corner there into a slow right-hander. As we get the throttle down and we go down the hill towards the I'm going to call it knockoff hairpin, and you literally brake, drop it a gear, power on through, just like you would do at Donington, although at Donington you maybe drop down 2 gears, back up the hill slightly into the S section. So you want to get it down to like 3rd gear, keep to the right hand side, but you can kind of follow it round to the left here, using the off throttle oversteer, and you want to stay over to the left after that left-hander, so you get a really nice straight line approach into that right-hander on exit, as you saw Michael Clough do there. Beautiful lap this is. Absolutely beautiful lap. Heavy on the brakes around about 75 meters out, riding up, and you kind of, as you can see on board, you don't really notice that there's a gradient there. So yeah, quite interesting to notice that now after the sidetrack camera angle. And over the timeline, and I actually believe that was actually Mark's. I couldn't call him Mark's. Michael's fastest lap of the race, which ultimately was the fastest lap of the race, gaining him an extra 2.5 points, as you will see, in roughly 1 minute and 20 seconds time. So this is the last lap. Bo Dixon is quite far behind. I can only assume that he got some slowdown penalties, or Michael was just absolutely on it. And as we can see from the onboard, he kind of was, to be fair. That Alpha was working absolutely beautifully for him. Just getting a really nice line into that. It's really interesting to see how people take these corners differently. I straight line that corner, whereas those two hang around to the left and really open up the apex, which explains a lot, to be honest. I'm watching this back. I actually learned quite a lot from doing these videos. And speaking about these videos, if you do like them, please do leave a like, ask any questions or criticism in the comments below. I do not mind whatsoever. I'm still fairly relaxed and chilled about these YouTube videos, as Mark Coulson is coming up to sector 3, the last sector off the circuit, and he is going to be our race 1 winner, because Bo Dixon is quite far behind, easily 100 meters behind. Shame we don't have that new F1 graphic. That would have been quite interesting, wouldn't it? But there we go. Clough is gone round T19, and over the timing line he goes to take victory in race 1 of round 6 of the PNTCC. Wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. So, as we take a look at the final results, whilst Bo completely destroys his Cupra before race 2, Michael Clough kicks off race 1 with a win and the fastest lap, so he gets an extra 2.5 points. Bo Dixon in second. Danny 200, sorry, getting third. Myself in fourth. Coulson in fifth. And Connor rounding off in sixth with that pretty heavy crash. As you can see from the qualifying rounds, Bo Dixon did start first and got a very, very quick lap. But let's not wait anymore. Let's head over to race 2, where straight from the get-go, because of reverse grid, so Connor gets P1, it all happens here. So we're watching from my angle again, because I happen to be in the middle of the pack of cars. Allows you to see pretty much everyone. Connor gets an incredible start, better than pretty much everyone else apart from maybe Bo. Bo looks to go around the outside of myself, and Mark Coulson's on the inside, and for some reason the brakes completely just locked up again on the McGann, and it just completely just sent Connor off, and by the time we finished turn 2 he had retired. So something clearly was wrong either with his pedals or with the car setup. It just completely locked up, and somehow after what you've just seen I end up in front. Anders has now got the race lead, with Coulson holding in second, so perfect scenario for Anders, with Coulson behind. As they go around the long right-hander, you can see the differences there. I'm a lot more shallow into that corner. As we head on down the hill, we'll flick the camera over to Bo Dixon in a minute, because he's in the heat of the action. I'm just going to pull away a little bit here as we go through knock-off hairpin. Up the hill towards the S's, my favourite part of the track. And the Civic is not very good with its weight transfer. It's just maybe the way that I set up the car. You can see the car rolls quite a lot. But here he is, Bo Dixon, who before these races tonight, if I get this correct, ended up winning the Platinum ranked F4 race on Raceroom, the official F4 Raceroom race. And we can see that Bo Dixon and Michael Clough take full advantage of Coulson running wide, and Danny also just getting the momentum and speed to go straight past Coulson. So that's pretty much Coulson's race done and dusted in the nicest way, unless there's some heavy incidences. But now these trio have got to chase down myself, Anders, into T1 and 2, the chicane. Heavy on the brakes, lay on the brakes. You can just see them roll their cars round, all being quite neat and tidy. I need them to battle a little bit more to just keep them back as long as possibly could. But Bo not really making any mistakes so far, not really getting any slowdowns, and just carrying so much speed through the corners compared to most people. And they're already catching up to me rather quickly. I know that I'm not the quickest, and I could have done with them battling a lot more. So in my head at this stage, I knew that they were going to catch me up by the time I got to T1 and 2. On the next lap, sorry, I've been up since 4:30, and I'm doing this at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So I am a little bit tired. But I knew they were going to be on my rear end by T1 and 2. So I needed to come up with some form of strategy to keep them behind, as I run completely wide out of the S's because I didn't straighten up those that right-hander. Far too laxed getting around that corner. As we go around T18, in T19 with only 6 minutes 40 left on the clock. It is literally anyone's race. I, for some reason, just started doing a Fernando Alonso. It's because I know by the time I get to this point, they're going to be right on my bumper. There we go. Look at that. In the braking zone, they've completely closed that gap. And I deliberately slow up because I want Coulson to be attacking Bo. But all that actually happens is that Bo is right on my rear bumper. And he's going to push and push and push until he gets his way by. Tries going around the outside of this corner. And to be fair, nails it. But what's WTCC without a bit of door rubbing? Which is ultimately what happens. And it looks like I hit Bo here, and I actually don't. He just runs wide, which is very Bo Dixon-like. As we go 3 abreast down to knock off hairpin. And I just seem to manage to get the acceleration on the other 2 cars. So that kind of told me that the Civic has got pace. I just need to figure out his cornering. And Bo has fallen down into 3rd with Clough in 2nd. As we now go through the S's again. And go around the left-hander. You've got to stay tight to the left-hand side to straighten out that right-hander. Everyone doing it a lot better there. As we come up to T18, T19. And Bo's looking down the inside of Michael Clough. He seemed to run wide a little bit from T18. He must have locked up a little bit or didn't quite get his braking right. But Bo's got the inside into T1. If Clough can hold it around the outside of T1, he will have the inside of T2 and hopefully be able to get a good exit, which is exactly what Clough is doing. Holding the outside. Now he's got the inside. Gets the power down, but because Bo's got a wider line, you're just able to get the power down a lot neater. But Clough is not giving up. But we can see what Bo can do around the outside here. Danny 200 is just putting his car in the mirrors, just letting Bo know that he's there. And Bo and Michael pretty much doing what Bo and Anders did on a previous lap. And Danny 200 is trying to get a piece of the cake here. Going up the inside of Michael Clough as they're coming down towards the old hairpin as we go on board with Danny 200. Seeming not quite to get the exit that he wanted, even though he had the inside of Clough. Through knockoff hairpin, as you can see, it's very similar to the hairpin at Donington, as I mentioned before. Coming up to the S's, and you'll see it here. So you want to really tuck in on this right corner. And you want to late apex this left-hander. So yeah, basically what Danny 200 is there. And you want to straighten this out. And you can see that Danny had to let off a little bit there. Because he didn't quite get it right. Not quite. You can go flat out through there. And carry a lot of speed. So we go through T18. Which is very easy to lock up, as you can kind of see there. We've got a bit of dust or smoke coming up from someone. I think that might have been Bo Dixon with the brake dust right there, or dirt. As we now head down into T1 and 2. So we'll see what sort of line Danny 200 here. And you can see that Bo is all over the back of Anders. With 3 minutes left on the clock pretty much. So 2 laps. Because the average lap time is about 1:39, 1:40 during this race. So we're not going to make it to 3, but we will definitely do 2. And you can kind of see the difference. Look at the difference between the Civic and the Cupra. And you can see the Civic is just moving about all over the place. It's just not happy. Not happy at all. And Bo just gets a fantastic exit as we head down towards the knockoff hairpin. Here at Autodrom, a circuit that is not in the race room rotation enough. It could be so good for GT3 racing, DTM, Formula 4s, especially Formula 4s around here would be really good. Really good for Formula 4s. And F3s, to be fair. And Bo is just hanging on the tail of Anders here. Clough isn't really able to close the gap to Bo. And Anders runs completely wide there. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's easy to lock up and get your braking wrong into T18. It's a very deceiving corner. And Bo, by the end of T19, Bo's in the lead. And Clough is now looking down the inside of Anders. But I put the brakes on early because I know if anyone's going to be able to battle Bo by the end of this race, it's going to be Clough and not myself. Clough has just got that extra bit of pace. I'm avoiding that inside line like mad purely because of race 1. I got a lot of slow me downs on race 1 and it did my head in. As we are now on the last lap. Last lap of the Grand Prix. Bo doing a speciality with 1 lap left to go of just nipping into the lead. As we go back with Ernie, and you can kind of see the lovely twisty complex that is Autodrom Most. Beautiful circuit. Really good circuit for racing. Really good circuit indeed. As we come down to the knockoff hairpin. Looks really good, to be fair. There we go, look at that. Both of them getting fantastic lines through there. Not sure Clough is going to get much of a chance to do much more. And Bo Dixon just taking us to the line pretty much whilst we're on board with Ernie. And coming into T18, as long as Bo doesn't make any mistakes here, Clough doesn't really have a chance. Now, something does happen in the background as we run out of time. So Danny 200 sprinting against Anders against the line. I got a really slow entry into T19. I'm not quite sure what I did, but Danny managed to beat me to the line to get P3 of race 2 of round 6 of the PNTCC. So some good driving all round. We could do with some more drivers. If you are interested in joining the Rada Casual League that happens on a Wednesday night at 8:30 BST, please hit the description up and you'll find some Discord links. So Bo Dixon got race win with Michael Clough coming in second with the fastest lap of the race and an extra 2.5 points. Dan 200 beating me to the line, gets him P3, which is fantastic. I mean, this was his home race, couldn't be more happy for him. P4 goes to myself, Anders. Colson finishes off in P5, and Connor sadly not getting anywhere, possibly due to a setup in P6. So let's head over to the overall results in the table. I'm currently at first. Anders in first with 319.5 points. Bo Dixon in second with 280.5. Jamski currently sitting in third with 246, so still in with a shot for the league title. Geordie Evans in fourth, who sadly is not racing with us because of IRL commitments. Clough, sadly that was his last round with us, currently holding P5, also due to other commitments that he's priorly signed up for. Colson in sixth with a very respectable 198 points. Hopefully he'll break the 200 marker fairly soon. Danny 200 moving up into seventh spot with 158 points, only 3 points more than Yogi, who is currently on hiatus. So that'll be an interesting little battle when Yogi gets back. Ravimus also missing out due to IRL commitments with 141. Connor rounding off the top 10 with 119. Not quite sure why he's still got the Audi badge there. Letting me in 11th with 81. And Galexo in 12th, rounding off our leaderboard. So thank you ever so much everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed this race. If you want to join in for round 7, hit up our Discord. You can find it in the description below. And yeah, look forward to seeing you next time. Look after yourselves. Peace. See you later. Bye bye.